Part 1.
You will hear a customer calling a travel agent to book a holiday. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 7.
Hello, Travelwide, can I help you?
Oh yes, good morning. I'm looking for a hotel for a long weekend.
OK, first of all, where would you like to stay? I mean, are you looking for a peaceful weekend in the country, a busy city break, or a relaxing time at the beach?
Well, I certainly want a quiet weekend. I work very hard, so I'd like to relax for a few days.
Right, so it would be country or beach. Which would you prefer?
The beach is very relaxing, but I think I'd rather go to the country this time.
OK, that's fine. Let me have a look at country hotels. Would you like to stay at a spa hotel where you could swim, read, eat healthy food and have relaxing treatments? Or would you prefer a family hotel on a farm?
I must say I like the idea of a spa.
Well, that's great. Now, let's just look at our spa hotels. You definitely don't want the beach.
No, I'd like to go somewhere in the countryside, somewhere where I can go for walks.
OK, then it won't be the Ocean Waves Resort. Farmhouse Getaways is a family-run hotel in the country, but it's not a spa. How does Sparkling Springs sound? It's a luxury spa hotel in the countryside with an indoor heated pool and views over the fields and woods nearby.
That sounds exactly what I'm looking for. Let's go for that.
Excellent. Now, if I can take some details, I can make the booking for you. Could I have your full name, please?
Yep. My name's William French.
William French. And your address?
Number 4, The Willows, Stanmarch, Norfolk, NE1 4SP.
The Willows. Sorry, how do you spell that?
WILLOWS. The Willows.
Thank you. And can I have a contact number for you?
Yes, my mobile's probably the best one. It's 07632 112254.
07632 112250.
No, it's 07632 112254.
Sorry, 54. And when would you like to go?
On the weekend of the 15th of June.
Fine. Checking in on the 15th of June. And when would you like to check out?
I'd like to stay until the night of Monday the 18th of June, so I'd be leaving on Tuesday the 19th.
Right. Check out on Tuesday the 19th of June. And how will you be paying?
By credit card. How much will it be?
Let me see. 4 nights at £90 per night is £360. Is that okay? It includes breakfast and dinner and a treatment a day.
Yes, that sounds fine. I'm looking forward to it.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
Would you like me to tell you how to get to the hotel once you're in the village? It's a bit difficult to find.
Oh, yes, please. I have maps on my mobile phone, but there isn't always a signal.
OK. Well, coming into the village from the motorway, which is in the east, the first building you see on your right is the church. It's right opposite the garden centre.
OK, the church is on my right and the garden centre on my left.
Yes. Just after that, you'll come to the railway crossing, and then you'll see the river on your left. After that on the right, you'll see the school. It's just before the bridge, over the river.
So the school's before the bridge?
Yes, that's right. Now, just after the bridge, you'll see a turning on your left. Take that and follow the road through the fields. On your left, between the road and the river, you'll see a lot of vegetable gardens. Just keep going down the road to the end. It leads straight into the car park at the spa. You can't miss it. It's at the end of the road.
Thank you very much for your help.
My pleasure. I hope you have a lovely weekend.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
You will hear a dialogue between two students, David and Jim.
First, look at questions 11 to 14. Listen carefully.
Hi, David. I'm glad I found you. I've got a topic for our presentation next month.
What is it?
I thought it would be a good idea to talk about glass and how it's recycled.
That doesn't sound very interesting.
That's what I thought, but it is. Did you know that glass has been around since as early as 4000 BC, when glass was used in the Middle East as a glaze to decorate beads?
Is it really that old?
Yes, and by 1550 BC, coloured glass vessels were widespread and used for cooking and drinking. The earliest known clear glass is a vase found in Nineveh in Assyria, dated from around 800 BC, which is now in the British Museum here in London.
You know, I think I've seen that. I was at the British Museum a couple of months ago with Lisa.
We don't realise how valuable glass was. It wasn't used widely back then. Until the 18th and 19th centuries, glass was very expensive and was used for limited applications, such as stained glass windows for churches. Large-scale glass manufacturing began with the Industrial Revolution, with the mass production of glass containers beginning at the onset of the 20th century, and glass light bulb production automated in 1926.
How expensive?
I don't know. But nowadays glass is much less expensive and is taken for granted as a packaging material, in addition to its use in windows and other applications.
Do you know what glass is made from?
New glass is made from a mixture of 4 main ingredients: sand, soda ash, limestone and other additives. These additives include iron for colour, brown or green, chromium and cobalt for colour, green and blue respectively, lead to alter the refractive index, alumina for durability, and boron to improve the thermal options. Annually, total glass use in the UK is estimated at around 3.6 million tonnes.
Before the broadcast continues, look at questions 15 to 20. You will now listen to the second part of the talk.
You're kidding. That's phenomenal. What do we do with all that glass? Where does it go?
Using present technology, the UK glass industry has the capacity to recycle over 1 million tonnes of glass each year. And this, coupled with the material's unique ability to be infinitely recycled without compromising its quality, creates a compelling case for the recycling of glass. Despite this, glass makes up around 7% of the average household dustbin, and last year over 2.5 million tonnes of this material was landfill.
How can glass be recycled?
It can be recycled indefinitely as part of a simple but hugely beneficial process, as its structure does not deteriorate when reprocessed. In the case of bottles and jars, up to 80% of the total mixture can be made from reclaimed scrap glass, called cullet.
What's it called?
Cullet. C-U-L-L-E-T. Cullet from a factory has a known composition and is recognised as domestic cullet. From bottle banks it is known as foreign, and its actual properties will not be known. Recycling 2 bottles saves enough energy to boil water for 5 cups of tea.
You know, I wouldn't mind a cuppa now.
Did you know that recycling reduces the demand for raw materials? There is no shortage of the materials used, but they do have to be quarried from our landscape. So from this point of view, there are environmental advantages to recovering and recycling glass. For every tonne of recycled glass used, 1.2 tonnes of raw materials are preserved. Recycling also reduces the amount of waste glass which needs to be used as landfill.
I know. It's a social conscience we all need to have.
Taking part in recycling the waste we produce makes us think about the effects we are having on our environment and enables us to contribute towards a greater level of sustainability. It's not all about economics, you know.
I'm sure you're right, Jim.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
John has applied to train as a teacher and is being interviewed. In this stage of the interviewer will discuss John's previous studies and work experiences. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Listen carefully to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 25. Hello, come in and take a seat. You are John Evans?
Yes, I am.
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, the purpose of this part of the interview is to go over your CV and talk a little further about your previous studies and experiences.
Yes.
So, your first degree was in French, of course?
Yes, with a minor in film studies.
An interesting combination. Mostly French films, presumably?
Well, European cinema in general, but with a bias towards French cinema.
Ah, and your degree took 4 years?
Yes. In the 3rd year, I was an exchange student at Bruges University in Belgium. I was there for a full academic year, 9 months.
Right. Well, you graduated 2 years ago, and then you took some time out, as it were.
Yes, I spent 6 months as a volunteer working on restoring historic buildings in France.
Oh. Was that with a well-known organisation?
They're called restoration vacations here, but they operate under different names in several countries. I think they're quite well known.
So, it was a 6-month vacation, really?
No, I went for a week, but really liked it, and I got asked to stay on as a translator. Because I could speak French quite well, it was my job to liaise between the owners of the buildings and the English-speaking volunteers.
That must have been a very enjoyable experience. Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Well, it was certainly a very enjoyable experience to begin with, but after the first 3 months or so, I actually got a bit bored. I was talking about the same things every day: bricks, cement, window frames, that kind of thing. It wasn't really stretching my French. Also, I wasn't getting paid, just free accommodation and food, plus some pocket money.
I see. So then you started working for a bank in Paris, BCFC, I think. Yes. Were you doing entirely translating again?
Well, translating was the major part of it, mostly from English into French this time. Official documents, letters, that kind of thing. Much more challenging. But I was also in charge of coordinating the translation work going on in the bank's offices in Switzerland, Belgium, and other parts of France.
What did that involve?
It was simple, really. I just had to keep track of what had been translated in each office, to save wasting time having the same document translated twice in different offices.
So, you stayed there for a year and a half, and then you left. Why was that?
Simple, to apply for this course.
I see. Why give up a secure job in Paris to train as a teacher here?
I've always imagined that I'd be a teacher, really. I loved being in Paris, but I wouldn't want to spend the rest of my life working for a bank.
Do you think your experiences in France will help you as a teacher of French?
It certainly helped my French, and my experiences certainly gave me a much better understanding of French culture. Although that may not be of enormous use when it comes to standing up in front of a class of British 13-year-olds.
Perhaps not. Thank you very much. The next stage of the interview will be conducted by my colleague in room 207.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
We're going to hear a lecture. Questions 31 to 40 are based on the lecture. Before you listen, please look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen to the lecture and answer questions 31 to 40.
Urban and community forestry can make great differences in our lives. Each one of us can make a personal contribution. As we develop and apply technologies for a better way of life, oftentimes side effects adversely affect our natural environment. For example, in our urban areas, summer temperatures and noise levels are higher than in surrounding countryside. Air pollution problems are more concentrated, and the landscape is significantly altered, reducing personal health benefits available to us by reducing access to wooded areas and green open spaces. Trees help solve these problems. Now, 75% of us live in cities and towns, and we can act individually to improve our natural environment through planting and care of trees on our own streets, and by supporting community-wide forestry programs. Through technology, we are learning more about trees and how they benefit mankind, and how we can do a better job of planting and caring for these trees that make up our urban forests. Trees are major capital assets in Australia's cities and towns. Just as streets, sidewalks, sewers, public buildings and recreational facilities are part of a community's infrastructure, so are publicly owned trees. Trees, and collectively the urban forest, are important assets that require care and maintenance, the same as other public property. Trees are on the job 24 hours every day, working for all of us to improve our environment and quality of life. Without trees, the city is a sterile landscape of concrete, brick, steel and asphalt. Picture your town without trees. Would it be a place where you would like to live? Trees make communities livable for people. Trees add beauty and create an environment beneficial to our mental health. Trees impact deeply on our mood and emotion, providing psychological benefits which are impossible to measure. A healthy forest growing in places where people live and work is an essential element of the health of the people themselves. A well-managed urban forest contributes to a sense of community pride and ownership. Trees and other plants make their own food from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, water, sunlight, and a small amount of soil elements. In the process, they release oxygen for us to breathe. Trees remove gaseous pollutants by absorbing them through the pores in their leaf surface. Particulates are trapped and filtered by leaves, stems, and twigs, and washed to the ground by rainfall. Air pollutants injure trees by damaging their foliage and impairing the process of photosynthesis. They also weaken trees, making them more susceptible to other health problems, such as insects and diseases. The loss of trees in our urban areas not only intensifies the urban heat island effect from loss of shade and evaporation, but we also lose a principal absorber of carbon dioxide and trapper of other air pollutants as well.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to your Ielts listening answer sheet.